and which I'm excited that it's not at the same time as Summerfest. Some other people are saying the same thing because sometimes they conflict. And so now you get to come out to Summerfest too. So it's 2 weekends a row of positive stuff, which will be kind of cool. There's new flyers out in the foyer on Summerfest that describe Saturday by itself and Sunday by itself. If you're wanting to know kind of what's happening, I think there's also something that describes Friday night. So each day has something different going on, but it is going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay? All right. Tonight, we're going to pick up after we had talked a little bit about, we've talked about so many things, the 5 ports of, just to remind you, 5 ports of recording. We've talked about how, we got to get to safety first, right? And people without a plan have a plan to fail, but if you don't have a plan that's built around safety, it's not going to work. Or if you don't feel safe, you won't make a plan. So this is what's real important, that we kind of pull everything back into safety. And don't you know sometimes that means you just make things less is more? Do you know what less is more is? Have you ever done that with a room? I got some rooms right now. I'm like, this needs to go less is more. There's more in there. And everything's cool that's in there. It's just too much. And so what happens when you come into a room that has too much, and I'm not talking absolute clutter, but I'm just saying there's a lot of information. Like in your house, the things that are in your rooms are attached to memories you made, right? Or things that you have, or something you saved up for, or whatever. And so we keep those things close to us. Well, if you have a room that has way too many of those things, what do you think that says of the brain when we do that? Anybody have a guess? We don't? Scattered? Yeah, who said information overload? Yeah, information overload. And what else? Lack of focus. Yeah. Visual noise. Visual noise is just a lot of noise going on, but you can't figure out what the thing is that you're supposed to grab first. So I have a son that's moving, and they've been moving over time, right? So you start and you sort this. And then the next couple of days you sort that. Then after a while, he said, I got to do the garage and just try to figure out what we're actually getting rid of. It's a different kind of sorting. Sorting to put it in what box is one thing. But this is like, what do we actually just get rid of? Because they want to get rid of a whole bunch of stuff. But then you question whether or not you'll need it down the line, how attached you are to it, and Grandma did give that to me, all that kind of stuff. He said after the sorting, finally they reach a point where they both saw themselves standing in the garage just looking at stuff like I don't know, It's like, and sometimes that's when it's great. You have somebody come alongside and like, I don't think you need this, and I'll take this to the thrift store or whatever. Because your brain gridlocks after a while when you have to make that many decisions that quick, right? So what that says is the stations in the brain that sort out our reality and our future versus our past or where we are now, when it wants to put that in sequential, a way where there's sequences of how it just kind of follows together, and it has to do that over and over, it'll start getting confused. And it doesn't know if this is first or that's last. And you almost have to take a break from it, right? Well, you ever find that in your sobriety? We don't take a break from sobriety, but it'll be the temptation at that point. Like, I don't even know. I can't even, people say those kinds of things to me. This is like, I thought I had this sorted out. Now I'm sorting something new. And it's, why are we always sorting something? And it gets exhausting. We just want the move to take place. Can I move from just here to over here? But things have to be brought to close, don't they? Now, you cannot bring something to closure in your brain, in your memory pattern, unless it's closed properly. Now, here's what's interesting. Your soul knows when something's closed erratically or based in a lie. When you try to close something out with a lie. Like, for instance, something tragic happens and you're like, oh, just get over it. That information goes in your brain. Your brain's like, I can't, what? And you could say it to the person like it's truth, but it's not. Your brain is looking for the truth. And I love that the Bible says Jesus is the way, the truth, the life. No man comes unto the Father except by him. And so if God is love, then love is absolute truth, and it's the highest standard of all, right? So when we decide things, it needs to be based in love. It needs we need to be able to hang everything on that banner. And that's what makes things start to line up where they're sequential. I'll give you an example. Someone had talked to me about not being able to make a plan, right? People without a plan have a plan to fail. When they went to make their plan, they would start, not finish it. Or they'd lay out something and then they didn't trust it. I mean, it would have all these different avenues to it. And when it came down to it, we stopped on the plan and just took a step over here and said, what are the emotions you're having? I don't think I deserve this. I don't even like me. I'm irritated that I would even have to go through this in my life. I think that's stupid. And that just says what kind of loser I am. See, none of those things are based in love, right? Are they? So it's just simple math, right? If that doesn't, love equals these wonderful things, that doesn't equal that, right? So then we'll try to motivate ourselves through shameful talk, punishment talk, any of those things to try to get ourselves to finally get our act together, right? And so when I went with this person and said, let's just take apart those lies, and we took apart those lies and said, now we can't refer to them now. We took them apart, or set them over here. It's like a mouse trap that was set. You just undo it, let it snap for a little bit, and move it all over here. We're not going to use that information anymore. Now, look at yourself in love, and let's make this plan. It was really hard for her. Because you want to grab over here because that feels like your real truth. That I'm a loser and I'm stupid and it never works out for me and you don't understand how hard I've tried or whatever. We want to say, no, that's been the proven truth. I mean, that's the track record. That's my lot in life. We have all kinds of sayings for it. And we go to try to grab for that, yet no, you can't touch that because that is not love. And love is the highest truth. And it takes absolute truth to dispel a lie. So have you ever tried to tell yourself a sort of truth? To get something done? You ain't buying it. Someone tells you a sort of truth, I ain't buying it. Because you know when it's absolute truth, because there's even if there's a conviction that goes with it, even if you find out you're wrong, if somebody says something to you that's an absolute love, the truth of it will help to change you. You're like, oh, now that hurt. But I know it's true. See, love without truth is not love at all. Truth without love is not truth at all. So part of finding sobriety means we have to find sober. Of course, remember we said doesn't mean to be without a drug or alcohol, porn, or any form of addiction. It means to be well balanced. So we just move these things to the side that are masking things, and then we try to get our balance in here. And part of finding balance is learning how to love yourself. Learning what love is for the first time. Giving yourself permission to take care of yourself. I had a lady call me real early in the morning, and she said, I can't sleep, I'm just having a panic attack. And she literally was having a panic attack, and it was because she had decided to do some things for herself. I said, well, what else has gone on around that? Somebody tried to stop you? Nope. You have the money to do it? Yep. What's going on in your head? It's just this false sense of guilt that was so tripped inside of her head that it was like, she panicked. Like, is this okay if I do? I mean, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to figure out me. I'm going to take time for myself. Because she hadn't experienced that form of love. And then, then a person who hasn't experienced that, what will end up happening is you can love, you think you can love someone else that way. Like, I think you should go on vacation, Ashley. Why don't you go with her? I think that would be great. It's easy for me to say all that because it's not me, right? But, and you want them to feel loved and you want the best for them. Well, what about you? Well, and if there's a sigh of any that comes out first, that means there's a row of things that are opposite of love about to follow that. Now, if you can't go, saying, well, no, I'm not able to go right now, but one day I'm gonna. That's different. I'm talking about, well, I don't usually, and I don't see where, and we'll have all this stuff going on because there's this feeling inside that you're not supposed to be doing that. How many of you are caretakers here or were raised where you were a caretaker of your siblings or somebody? Right, so you know what I mean. And sometimes we can have a gifting that's a servanthood like that, and it gets distorted. I mean, all caretaking's not bad, or we'd be in trouble. Right? Who's going to take care of my mama? That kind of thing. So we have to be able to do that. But when it comes to a form like we're driven, and we can't stop, and there's no moment for us, something isn't under the banner of love. We have to be able to love ourselves too. So that's just in caretaking. But when we go to make a plan, people without a plan have a plan to fail. So let's sit down right now. Whatever it is you're conquering, whatever trauma, whatever past hurt, whatever label that's been put on, or whatever it is, we're going to conquer this thing, right? Let's make a plan. As soon as you say that, you just challenge the subconscious. You challenge your soul to say, we're doing this? I mean, that would mean I'm worth something. I don't do the I'm worth something. So let me just take a little bit of time. I'll come back. I'll just check out of Hope Dealers or whatever class you're in, and I'll just take a couple weeks to think about it before I make this plan. Escape is what we're doing. Because the more we sit and we look at the plan and we have to go and put words to that plan, the more we have to face ourselves. That's why the term people without a plan have a plan to fail. No plan, you're really not thinking of yourself. So a plan for recovery is highly important. Sometimes it's lack of knowledge. We just don't know how to make that plan. We think we need to do it all ourselves. That's the other one. So I realize I have an addiction problem or I have this or whatever. I read some books on it or whatever. I'm good. I'm used to just taking care of stuff myself. I don't really need to reach out to other people. I don't need to be a part of a group. I mean, that's for some people, but not me. I mean, you don't understand how I operate. And what we're really resistant of, and if this hurts, it should a little bit, what we're really resistant of is loving ourselves. And then that takes the chance that other people might actually care about us. I don't do people. That's what the subconscious will be like. I don't do people. Sorry. I'll interact for a little bit, but then it's me. Then we'll do this. Well, we've been talking about all kinds of different things. And one of the things is we have to come up into faith in order to make a change happen in our mind. And faith is not a religion, right? It's your belief system. I believe that I have a destiny. I believe I have worth. I believe I belong in this day and hour, and I'm going to leave a mark in this world, and it's going to be good. I believe, and I could just go on with what I believe. Now, when I first started in recovery or getting over the traumas and stuff I went through, it was like, I don't know what to believe. I mean, what do you think? And that's when we talked about last week. That's when someone will compliment you, and you're like, so weird, right? Or we'll even say, sometimes women will say if a husband or somebody compliments me, you go, shut up. We actually tell them to shut up. Or you're so weird. And we push back on the compliment because we don't want the encouragement, yet we want the encouragement because the word encourage means I'm going to actually put courage into you. I want you to be confident. Here, have some of that. And if you're able to receive it with your faith that says, yeah, I believe that. I believe that's what I need. That's me loving you and you loving yourself. Next thing you know, you're loving other people. And it just goes like that. But what clogs it is when we don't understand what love is. We can talk through the 12 steps. We can go to meetings till we're blue in the face, right? Recite things upside down, backwards, whatever. But until we learn how to love ourselves and allow people in our life, we're not getting anywhere. That's a pretty blunt statement. But I'm willing to back it up. I'm willing to just give you years of what I've seen and what you know right now, the times that you just aren't able to love yourself. When we don't love ourselves, we don't have a good boundary. Sometimes somebody didn't love us enough to give us a boundary when we were growing up because they didn't get the memo. We don't get the memo. Right? Now what? That means we have to learn what boundaries are. In order to learn what boundaries are, it's not just about being bossy. Called all my friends and said, don't be by me. There, those are no, it's about you loving yourself enough to be aware of your own needs. So you call me and you're throwing F-bombs and on the phone with me and I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, I'm sorry, I don't think you're ready to talk with me yet. I don't allow people to talk like that. Call me back later. I loved you enough to tell you, and I loved myself enough to hang up. That's love. Now, if I feel like, as you're cussing me out, I got to come up and trump what you're saying, I'm like, well, no one loves me, and so I really got to tell you, and you don't ever call me like this again, so help me, right? And then we're going on, and they bait us into a big fight, and it just keeps going. That's our own fear of how unloved we really are. When you feel loved, boundaries come out of it. So it's a goal, right? We got to get ourselves some love. Come to church, you'd be like, I gotta get me some love. Appropriate, God-filled wonder that goes on inside of us, where we go, yeah, because love is truth, and truth is love. How many of you have experienced where you were stuck in an area and you just kept, this went on for a long time, you were stuck, and yet someone kept speaking the truth, and you're like, yeah, I know, but anyways, I'm stuck. And they're like, hello, it's right here. But you couldn't hear them? Have you ever had that? Yeah, I like honesty. So that's that thing that if we just stop long enough and quit trying to be the superhero and just go, I wonder if I don't love myself in this area. I just got to breathe and let God love on me in a way where I just know the answer is going to come. And what was that thing you were saying to do? And suddenly I'm hearing that person because I slowed everything down. Trauma does not allow that. Trauma leaves a lie in there that says, you must keep going. You must escape. You must fight back. You must retaliate. It's all these musts, but there's no real meat as to how you are going to get out of the situation. So my grandson was in my office digging in my stuff, because that's what he does. And I let him dig. I got weird stuff. I got a rattlesnake in my office. I got all kinds of stuff. He likes to dig in it. So one of the things I have is these different shells. And so many people have done the thing where you put this to your ear. Now, I've been to the ocean, and I try to make it sound like the ocean. Not quite to me, the ocean sound, but there is a sound, isn't there? And so I remember telling my first grandchild, when he was about 3 years old, put your ear to that, you'll hear the ocean, right? Now, is that true? No, but everybody says that, so I said that to him, not even thinking, that's actually not true, right? And so he did, and he's like, he pulls it back, and he's like, well, where is it? How is it in there? What's the, And so sometimes things come our way that are truths that we've heard, but they're not really true. They're things that we were told that, well, that's not actually true. The ocean is not inside of here. But you can hear the wind or the air movement in the building moving through this shell. It's pretty cool. I almost feel like you can hear it because I can hear it. Have you ever done this? Where you put it here? Here, pass it around. Y'all can sit there like you're listening to a head. I love this song. No, so, but you got to just see, and so there's something about it. But when I told him that, I'm his grandma, so he's like, ocean's in there, right? So sometimes we'll buy truths. Shoot, sometimes we do it all the time, or there wouldn't be infomercials, or they wouldn't be that stuff that sucks you into spending a lot of money and things like that, because they're part truth, but they're not all the truth. And so it takes all the truth to dispel a lie. And a lie is the best lies are those exact statements. They're not the sort of lies, they're like, you never will amount to anything, which is a lie from the pit of hell. So it's like, poof, it's a slap down lie. So in order to dispel that, you go to approach that. Oh yeah? Well, no. Right? A lot of times we don't know what to say to that. We don't know how to love ourselves enough to say no to it. Yeah. He's found the ocean in it. So there is grabbing a hold of absolute truth, but we have to start the base of all recovery from trauma and anything you can get your hands on that has to do with addiction in the fact that there are areas that we have lived in lies. They were not absolute truth, which means they were not love. If you don't seal that before you go to AA, the 12 steps won't make sense. If you don't seal that before you go to other things, your counseling or whatever, you're not going to make a plan like you have any worth, nor are you going to follow through, because why would you do that? It's you. Who are you anyway? Interesting, huh? So this is what we know about how the brain receives things. I don't know how well you can see this. I should have made it bigger on a whiteboard or something like that. It's not really the shape of your brain, but there it is, right? We receive information when it comes in. The first thing that's important to the brain when it comes from the outside is what we do. You know, it's like your vacuuming floor. This is what we do, move back and forth. It's very digital, very digital. The inner core then goes to how we do what we do. The brain wants to process how we do what we do. It's just not information of moving a vacuum cleaner. It's why would you move the vacuum cleaner at that certain speed? There's a speed you should move it at, or it can actually pick some stuff up. Not like when you're mad, you know. There's a certain speed you want it to actually pick up some stuff. So the how-to area, or the how we do what we do is there. And then the deepest part of your inner thought is why we do what we do. Just knowing that, you have to have truth on all of those levels, which means you have to have love on all of those levels. You ever be yelled at about what we're supposed to do when you're growing up? What is wrong with you? Get the garbage out, or whatever it is. And we're talking about what we do, but we're not grabbing a hold of it in any stronger level because we're trying to survive what we do. And so when something is presented in a teachable way in love, we go, yeah, that's a cool, I didn't know that. That's a good fact. That's a whatever. Well, how do we apply that to us? How does that work? See, we're open to learning. But if we're abused in those first thoughts, the getting to the core of why we do what we do gets shut off. And this is why some really highly intelligent people get low grades at school. Because the what we do is so overstimulated, we don't have time to process deeper into how we do because we don't trust. And why we do it doesn't even matter. I don't care. I don't care. Have you ever had somebody really pushy try to teach you how to do the computer when it first came out and you were trying to learn? Or fish, that's another one. Like, no, just you pull the line. Just give it to me. Right? Now just watch what I'm doing, and they do the whole thing. By the time you're done, the only feeling you have is you're stupid. And they came in the port on the what we do, And you still can't even really process that because you're trying to protect yourself. Now you don't even know when you're doing something why you're doing it. See, it messes up the processor in the brain. So love talks to ourself more quiet. Love speaks truth and repeats it and reassures ourselves. That's where confessions are really good. You know, where we're able to say, no, I do have worth. You ever say that out loud? I do have worth. Yes. Yeah. And so what we do, if we're not understanding what we do, we have to calm down the what we do part wherever we feel trauma. We just calm everything right down. And we deal with that first, or you will not retain. Right? So to retain, we're trying to get it to move to the part of why we do what we do, and that's that heartfelt thing. So if you're on a computer and somebody goes, well, Nick, all you have to do is move that, and then you paste that over here, just touch this button up here, slide her across. Right? But if my tone was more like, Nick, come on, I already shut down his ports of learning. Didn't I? Because now he has to come up with this feeling of I have to defend. I got to start thinking about, I got to really watch what they're doing because I don't want to be embarrassed or feel stupid or whatever. So really, the first thoughts coming in are really, really important. And then think about this when it comes to your spirituality. I can tell you about God, but if it never gets past what we do and gets to the how we do it or why we do it, there's probably a God, but I don't know him. We'll come out of that. I don't feel anything from him. I don't see where. I mean, I'm sure there probably is a God. Because something interrupted that first level of learning. We never got to be like, so how do we do this? Religion can do that. Oh, it can jack you up. When somebody's trying to tell you about God, well, this is what it's like telling you about the computer. Nick, come on, just move the thing. Just give me the mouse. Right? You know? And if I push him around or make him feel like, come on, how long do you got to go to church before you understand this? His ports of learning have stopped. He's not going to understand necessarily why we do what we do at all. Because once you get to the core of that, that's the deep part of you. And then, you know, it isn't like the areas where I have that really flowing between me and God. It isn't like he's telling me stuff, you know. Sometimes people think that like night and day, he's just talking to me and he's giving me all these instructions. No. I know some things, but he's showing me how. And when it hits the why, I feel loved and I'm able to love people around me. This is why I do what I do. It's totally different. You go to your job every day and you start to think every day, same routine, same coffee shop, same road. Get there at same time, say hey to Joe, and then go in and Pete's waiting for me, gives me the paper. It's the same thing all the time. There's a certain part of you that is not tapping the why you do what you do. You might have some of the how you do it, but you're never going to really have the vision of why you're even there. So you're not going to feel important at that job. You're just going, well, they said to do this, this, and this. That's what we do. Do you know why? Do you know how you're going to go about that to produce the why? See, it comes through trauma damage that this takes place, and it will literally shut down your learning. Now, I shared a story about a little boy that heard his father kill his mother. How many of you remember that? And true story, screaming. They're both screaming. They lock the little boy in a dark basement. He's at the top of the stairs, pounding on the door, trying to get out. Screaming, 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 right? His ports are recording everything. And when you're in a trauma situation, you record everything on Mach 10. Like, you can hear the neighbor dog barking. Everything's picking up. It's like the smells in the house become stronger, all of that. And that little person was standing at the top of the stairs and heard his mother be killed, and then the dad killed himself. So he was there in the dark for a couple days. Can you imagine? Needs not being taken care of or whatever. When the neighbor thought to go and check and found the bodies or whatever, they began to look for the little boy. When they opened the door, when they went to communicate with him, he was deaf. His port had recorded so loud that his brain said, shut down the factory. That is way too much information. And he went deaf. Interesting, huh? Well, our ports of learning this is one of our ports of learning. So if we don't get to the middle base, get to that core area, we're going to be in trouble when it comes to using our faith on things, because we're letting the first area that come in traumatize us, and then those second areas that are supposed to get the answers to those questions and the whys, they get so explosive, it actually damages the brain. It causes brain damage. People lose eyesight, digestion. I know people who have lost digestion. It's like the stress, the thing that happened to them, their body just quit digesting. So doctors are giving them medication to try to get that moving, but it's just not moving. And so there's something to our ports of learning that we need to take a look and say, if I don't feel like what we do was handed to me in a loving way, I can't sit in a pity party about it for the rest of my life. I have to go and learn and find safe places and redo my brain's way of receiving things. Slow things down, keep it more calm. Tell it the truth. Explore the truth. And then be brave enough to do the how we do this. Now I know what things we're supposed to be doing, and now I'm learning how to actually go about that. How do I feel when I'm doing this? How do I go about the changing of a tire on the car or something like that? Any of you know you're supposed to have a certain thing that you're supposed to have information on something, like changing the tire on the car. Like your brain says, yeah, somebody should have showed me that, but I never got the memo. And then now you're in the situation. How many of you were in that situation? You're just calm. Just like, well, I don't know how to do this. We'll find somebody. No, there's some kind of anger that comes from the core that literally says, in that area that says why we do what we do, the why starts coming up. And the why? Why don't you know this? Why? What are we doing? Why? And it'll move back to, you're supposed to know how to do this. And your brain will literally not be able to learn at that point. Have you ever been in that? Kick the tire of the car, you're cussing and all that kind of stuff because your ports are not, once again, they're shut down. Love is what changes that. Now, I find it interesting when I look at Mark chapter 10. It's a beautiful story of Jesus heals blind Bartimaeus. Then they reached Jericho, and as Jesus and his disciples left town, a large crowd followed him. A blind beggar named Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, was sitting beside the road. When Bartimaeus heard that Jesus of Nazareth was nearby, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." I like that. When he did that, that meant he wasn't playing. He wasn't going to be, I'll just write a little note. Have my friend here write a note and get it to him. No, he just shouted out. And what did the people do? Be quiet. Many of the people yelled at him. They yelled at him. And yet he was reaching out to, like, what we do. I heard that you do this, so show me what we do and how we do it. And why we do it. I want what you have. So he was willing to yell about it and then be yelled at. But he only shouted louder. "Son of David, have mercy on me." I like that. When Jesus heard him, he stopped and said, "Tell him to come here." And sometimes you got to speak up and love yourself enough to say, "No, I'm doing this. I don't care if you cuss me out. I'm doing this. I don't care if you're yelling in my face. I'm doing this. I'm not going to sit here as a victim. I'm going to cry out, 'Son of David, have mercy on me.'" You don't ask somebody for mercy unless you're expecting that they have some to give. Yeah. So they called the blind man. Cheer up, they said. Come on, he's calling you. First they chew him out, tell him to be quiet. And they're like, oh, Jesus wants to see him. Oh, and then they come and get him. That's kind of fickle. And then, come on, he's calling you. Bartimaeus threw aside his coat, jumped up, and came to Jesus. He jumped up. See, this is a faith. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked. What we do. What we do. You've been watching me? Want me to show you what I do? Right? So this is the first level, what we do. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked. My rabbi, the blind man said, I want to see. And Jesus said to him, go, for your faith has healed you. Just go. Your faith has healed you. Instantly, the man could see, and he followed Jesus down the road. So if that was just learning and not an actual physical healing, he pushed through the what we do, wanted to see, and kind of was confident in how we do. This is how I do it. I ask him. He says, yes, and let's get it done, right? But there's a why we do that this man probably sat and thought about afterwards and before. Why do I say that? Is because he was blind before. And it isn't out like you're out picking cherries and riding four-wheelers. You know what I mean? It's like you're kind of confined to that. You got more time that you're going to sit and be thinking, why? Why is this here? What can I do about it? What does he do? How does he do it? Why would he do that for me? You're not going to just go, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me, if you don't answer the question, why would he do that for me? I'm blind and I've just been sitting here. I'm kind of worthless to society. I mean, they say those kinds of things. But he must have already contemplated enough to go, he loves. That's why he does what he does. And so I'm just going to tap into that mercy. Remember, grace is what you don't deserve, and mercy is when God withholds what you do deserve. So he had no fear of approaching him, because it didn't matter what he had been involved in his life. He's asking for mercy, and he's expecting to get some. So sometimes in our ports of learning, we go to get something, and we ask for something, but we don't actually expect we're going to get it. It's like rolling dice. It's like a Russian roulette. It's like something like that, where you're just like, I don't know, I'll throw it out there. We'll see. But you don't yell, Son of David, have mercy on me, and then have people tell you to shut your pie hole. The master's trying to talk, like chill it. And everybody turns and looks at you, and you do it again. There's a higher learning in this man. There's something in the ports that are saying, no, I've thought about this. This guy loves. Whether he recognized he was the Messiah or not, he knew he's a rabbi and he loves. Why wouldn't he do this for me? Well, what do you want? I want to see. Well, go your way. That's it? You're not going to read a book to me. You're not going to read off my past life and tell me all the reasons and the things I still have to do and the ladders I got to climb to come to a certain level. You're going to do that? No, he just has mercy. So this is one of the kingdom of darkness's way of jacking us over when we're kids, is to shut down the port of learning, which we've talked about before, so you never get to do the why he does what he does, or why I do what I do. That's that middle place of learning. That's the base of the brain. That it's like, ooh, now this is running deep. Yeah, I see why we do this now. This is really to help people. I pray and I cry about this. This is how much it means to me. When you just do what you do, there's no feelings to it. That's why people can be, I lost my job. Whatever. Anyways, I'm moving on. I don't know. There's got to be more to it than that. When you start to see that God places you places, even if it's for 6 months, he places you places with the people that you're with for a reason. For them to sharpen you and for you to sharpen them. Even if they're not saved. We have to come and be accepting of what's around us. That's the why we do what we do. Like, I had a job for a long time at the post office. But I knew when I worked at the post office, I wasn't there because I want to work at the post office. Are there finances? Yes. But I was heat-seeking the whole time, like, who am I going to run into? Why am I here? Why am I in this post office at this time, in this very hour? And I would always run into somebody that I would minister to. I started out with a cubicle where you're doing the mail because they used, I don't know if they even do this anymore. I'm sure they got machines, but you had to look at the mail and sort it. The faster you get, to. Well, I started out with one square or whatever shape it is, and then I went to another one. Next thing you know, I had a thing that went like this all the way around me. So I'd get in there, take the mail, and then I'd just close it. Makes a really nice prayer room, right? As I'm checking the thing, I've got all these names under my hand here of the neighbor. I'm going to run into somebody in this neighborhood. Ooh, I hope I see that lady today or whatever. And then I remember having one of the managers there say, what you doing in there? I had the biggest cubicle thingy, And they're like, well, what are you doing in there? And I said, well, I'm just about done, row 3, blah, blah, blah. And they said, can I come in there? I'm like, it's a little tight. She came in, she shut it, and she's like, would you pray for me? See, I wasn't like, I just cannot wait to put mail in this slot. This paper is so pretty, No. I liked my little Jeep, My husband bought me this little Jeep. I like that. But other than that, it was like, I don't like it. I didn't crave that. I didn't grow up in one day and just say, can't wait to just touch mail and put it in boxes. No, but I'll tell you what, the excitement that I had to get there made me get there early because I never knew who I was going to end up praying for. See, there's a why. Why am I here? I'm carrying the blessing of God. But if you don't think you're blessed and you think you're cursed, you really don't want to irritate anybody with you. Why is anyone going to even want to hire you? Why do I want to show up? They probably didn't want me here. That's how we think about ourselves. But when God renews that, you will get to a why we do what we do, and suddenly everybody around you looks different. You're like, I'm going to get that person's name. And you're willing to do crazy things, like you're on a timer. You got so many boxes to get out or do whatever it is. So you really don't have time to stop. So if you stop and you talk to somebody and pray with somebody, you better run to the next things. You better come back sweating. And you got to be willing to do that. But how exciting is it? That's a purpose. But if our ports of learning shut down where we don't get why we do what we do, why am I even here? We're surely not going to go, hey, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Are we? And then all it would take is somebody to go, quiet. You're interrupting the rest of us. And then we just shut up. He didn't do that. It's like, I'm doing my deal. And he got up and said his thing. And then was brave enough to say, I want to see. He was brave enough to do that. And this is why Jesus said, go, for your faith has healed you. There's something about the inner side of us when it comes to healing, physical healing, mental healing, all of those things, that when healing flows through or comes from the inside as your soul is changed and changes your why on everything, it'll affect it this way, but it'll also affect it on how it comes in. Suddenly you see your life different and you have purpose. Otherwise, it's just what we do. I'm here, and it's just what I do. Just preaching this Wednesday night, I got like 15 more minutes. Right? And I think about the people who were here last week and the week before. Before I ever get here, I'm like, I wonder if so-and-so is going to show up tonight. Yeah. I think about it. So And then it's just exciting to see all of you here tonight. And there's something to knowing your purpose. So if you are stuck in what you do, I just do what we do, but you're not applying how you do it because of your why, there's a difference in how you approach something because of your why. I don't remember, I think it was 16 years of daycare, preschool, that kind of stuff. And if you do that for a paycheck, God help you. That is the little people that, there has to be some kind. This is why I do what I do. Those kids are now married. Creeps me out when I see it. I'm like, or about to graduate high school, and it's like, but the why was their little soul. It wasn't the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. It was kind of like, let's make sure they're safe when mom's gone, dad's gone, that they have the time of their life at this preschool or whatever it is. And there's a why that then motivates how you go about it. That's what gives you the creative ideas to go about certain things. You're like, let's get a water slide. Let's do this. And you'll start coming up with ideas. But if it's just like, they told us we have to watch these 6 kids, so. Wow, creative juices are just flowing. Huh? If you approach your job or your life or anything like that, you better stop everything and go, why, God? Why am I in Cambridge? Why do I live in Princeton? Why do you have me in Malacca? Who is the sphere of influence? Who am I connected into? Start mapping your life and figure out the why. Why me? Why would you choose me to love? It's kind of big. Sometimes we get asked a spouse that, and then we're like, don't tell me the answer. Because there's been enough pain that goes between you. You're like, I don't know, I'll probably get my feelings hurt again or something like that. It's not supposed to work that way. But there's just something about the why in that realm, why we do what we do, based in love. How is love working here? We don't do the summer festival just to have a big party. I'm like, everybody's got to walk away having fun. Had a moment of sobriety with that rock that just got to know people. There's so many whys in this. If 10 people show up or 300, the goal is still the same. So what I'm saying to you is if that seems like foreign talk, something's off in the ports. And we got to go to God and have him give you why. Why do you love me, Lord? Do you ever talk to God about those things? A lot of times we're like, show me what to do with my checkbook. Nothing. You ever notice that? Well, he didn't talk to me. Show me how I'm going to fix blah, blah, blah. Heard nothing. But you ask him a simple question. Just sit on a porch swing one time and just say, hey, God, why do you love me so much? He will give you an answer. Because all those other how we do what we do or what we do, that'll all fill in. But if you don't get the why of his love, finding out, something, this is how you fix the motor in your car. Oh, I just feel so loved. No, you feel relieved. Doesn't mean you feel loved. But if you had the why about it, and then you got the information on that, that connection makes you actually feel complete. And that's what we're missing. We're missing the peace and the complete feeling. That's what causes us to use. That's what causes us to reach out to poor relationships, because we're looking for that. Now, if you don't know why you're worthy of love, especially ladies, if you don't know that, I can say especially ladies, but it really goes both ways. I counsel enough guys who've been run over by women. But, where you find somebody, why am I worthy of love? And you find that person who's willing to tell you, oh, baby, you're so sexy. It's like the way you look in those jeans. Oh, my gosh, I'm so loved. No, you're so lusted. But that's not love. Especially if you say that to a total stranger. first date kind of like, what are you doing, Houston? You know, so so there's something about it. And for us, we'll get that desperate. It's just like the cat trying to get out the door, just scratching the door, trying to get out, because we're literally that desperate on trying to figure out why am I worth something? Why am I here? Could you tell me? Could you tell me? And we'll go from person to person and be like, could you tell me? Could this group tell me? Could this new hobby tell me? I'll find out that I'm really good at art. Well, that just told me. Now that must be why I'm loved. No, it's performance. Love, he loves you because he loves you, because he does. He doesn't have to have some performance kind of thing that goes, and that's why you're loved. Now, that's what we do when we're fickle in that area. We raise up kings and queens and worship them, and then when we get bored with them, we take them out. That's what Hollywood does all the time. Right? 6 months of this, 2 years of this, and now, did you hear about them? Yeah. And now here comes this whole nother person that now has value. And this person over here doesn't really have value anymore. That's wicked. That's the world's way. That is not love. Boundaries, if you're a person who doesn't have boundaries, and you're like, I just don't know why I can't stand up for myself. I feel like a victim. Well, it's a love issue. You start feeling like a love for yourself that's like, no, I'm worth something here. I kind of like what I did with my bedroom. And I remodeled it, and, it's kind of like my zone. Whether I'm just using that as an example. And then all of a sudden somebody goes in there and starts throwing stuff around. You're going to have a boundary come up. Why? Because you loved yourself enough to experience that and create a zone for yourself. So you're going to be a little bit more protective. But if you don't love yourself enough to accomplish something for yourself, you have nothing to protect, do you? It's a big challenge. Yeah. So be asking God the questions. Why do you love me? Why am I here? And don't do it like, why am I here? No, don't do that. We've already done that. So don't repeat that one. Just like, what do you have for me, God? I just want to hang out with you. And you can show me how we do what we do and what we're going to do. And I'm just going to be really relaxed about it because I feel loved. Cha? Yeah. So put your life into, if you got something going on that you're like, I really need this to change, would you be willing to say, Jesus, Son of David, in front of a whole bunch of people if you had to get your answer? I'm not sure we should have to do that. Well, you might not have to do that, but what if that was the way to him? That's not the only way to him, but in your situation, what if it was crying out that got you to him? You do it? Yeah. Yeah. So there's something about that cry that he hears. There's a manipulative cry. Like, nobody's coming, where are you? Nah, he's not going to move on that. That's not faith. Faith is when you cry out to him, God, I'm here. I need you. Son of David, heal me. Heal my soul. Show me why I'm here. I know you have a purpose for me. And faith will manifest. And suddenly, things will start falling into line that you're like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. I didn't say you wouldn't be challenged on the things that you're supposed to do. I get challenged every day. But I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And he's shown me how to do what I'm doing. Even if the people say, quiet, I'm going to be like, hey, Jesus, Son of David, you asked me to do this. Have mercy on me. What you need, Mary? Oh, I need some finances for this ministry. I need salvation power for that person's soul. That's what you do. It's called faith. Take a deep breath. I just did that to do that, to get you in the habit of it, because half of you chest breathe. And it's been bugging me the whole time I've been speaking. I'm like, stop. Like, lack of oxygen is in this place. I should have little things that fall down from the ceiling. It's I'll be like, row 3, breathe. That's just a sign of trauma, And that's why we have it, where we'll stop and we'll be listening, and we're analyzing our life, and we haven't even breathed for 45 seconds. Nothing's been happening. It's a trauma response. Now, if someone else who hasn't been through trauma or they have and they've come to a place of healing, you can talk to them, they just breathe normal. They're like, oh yeah, that's a good thought. Right? Watch yourself if you're watching a car chase movie or something like that. If you've had trauma in your background, or somebody's chasing some chick through a forest. I try not to watch that kind of stuff, but let's just say, because I know you do, and that kind of thing's happening. Watch, because you'll turn and you'll look. It's like a deer in a headlight, right? They come up on the road, and then you go, and then you freeze, and ain't nobody breathing, and you're waiting for that scene. And sometimes those scenes are long, and you won't breathe through the whole thing. I used to do it. Then I had to train myself to breathe. We need oxygen. It's a cure to a big portion of PTSD and panic disorder. Just that one thing. If you can catch that one thing and be like, it's just a car chase. Yep, there he goes. It's all in the script. Wow, that's pretty exciting. But that's what you have to do if your brain is trained toward panic. It's actually doing this. You have to purposely bring it down. Purposely bring it down. I like if I've been in a crisis situation, whether it be a fire or whatever, I really like coming alongside the person who at that moment doesn't have much for emotions. All right, this is what we're going to do. And they start saying what they're going to do. Just bring the truck up over here, whatever. And you're like, the house, it's like a blazing, Everyone else is like, ah. But they've come to a point where it's like their training says, well, I can't cure all that, but this is what I can do, and I'll do it. So they don't leave there all adrenalized and cortisol through the roof and then can't sleep for a week and feel sick. It's the people who haven't trained themselves how to breathe and know why we do what we do. I'm here to help save somebody. It doesn't pay for me to get all worked up. Like I said, my husband, if it comes to a TV show, if we actually get time to watch TV, I have to say that first. If we actually get time, this is how it works. I lay on the couch. He's got a recliner. Like, what do you want to watch? Okay. And it'll start, and I'm like, if I make it 10 minutes, that's like a big deal. It could be the best movie. Like, this is the all-time movie. And I'm like, sorry, I just can't make it. And he'll be sitting there eating peanuts or whatever he is. And I'll wake up, and there's like this major thing going on and everything. He's like, you have a good nap? Just everything's so... And I'm already not knowing what's going on. I'm like, well, what's happening? Why is she running? And my brain starts thinking like that. I have to calm myself down. How many of you are visual learners? Like, that's your main... Yeah, so what you see will rile you up the most. So you have to retrain the brain in the area of what you see, right? I'm a people reader, so I have to literally remind myself if I'm watching certain shows, this is just a show. Like The Notebook messed me up. Like, I was messed up. I won't watch that movie again. And my husband still thinks, he's like, it's a movie. I'm like, yeah, but it happens. Right? And I'm so visual. If they're a good actor or actress, it's like I feel what they're feeling. And then it's hard for me to pull out of that feeling. And it's real. I would wake up the next day like, that was just a movie. Okay? I can watch a war movie. That doesn't happen. Isn't that weird? So it's just different things like that. Each of us is something different. when it comes to how our ports have been trained. Do you love yourself? How much do you love yourself? I want to say this before we close. You can't love you without God's help, because you are not love. He is. So you can write a list of how busy you're going to get loving on you, but you don't get that list from God. You don't get that sensation from God, that why are you here from God. You're just doing stuff. You're still in them. This is how we do it. I'm loving me. Got my nails done. Huh? And what's wild for me is I can go get my nails done. It's rare, but I'll go get my nails done and I don't feel nothing different. I feel cleaner. Feet will feel cleaner. I'm like, oh, that feels better. But I don't feel like, wow, do I feel loved? Now, some people, that won't make them feel loved. When I'm out on the streets and I approach somebody and I just know it's a God moment and I can feel his anointing, I automatically feel loved. I'm like, I am so with you, like we're hanging out right now. This is awesome. And I feel loved. It's far more exciting than if you gave me jewelry or whatever it is. That's me. Let's stand. So this week and this coming week, because there's no Hope Dealers next week because it's the week of Summerfest. Can you make it? Yeah. If you don't think you can make it, we got some people here who will hunt you down. We know where you live. No, that was a little creepy. But anyways, but no, we're going to skip it next week just because of all the things being put together and as Summerfest is coming, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into doing all that. Plus, we have a funeral in the middle of it with Mark. We're going to celebrate him on Saturday morning over at New Hope. And so, any case, I don't think there's. I thought I had another announcement, but that's it. I got it. So repeat after me. There is no Hope Dealers next week. Do not show up at the building. I'm going to Summerfest. So, there you go, right? So, Father, we just come before you in the name of Jesus, and we thank you for all that you have done inside of us. But we're asking that you reveal yourself to us, that we might see your love. We might encounter you in such a way, Lord God, that it will never be the same. Then all this addiction, all this other stuff, that'll take care of itself once we have that encounter with you in the mighty name of Jesus. So I don't know if anybody got to say hi, but Kelly, she had to leave. She was sitting right behind you. Kelly from Empower was sitting in the second row here. She just wanted to come peek in. She just was down.